Welcome back to the part second of the story Lost Spring written by Annis Young. So, children, in the first part, we read about a boy named Sahib-e Alam, the meaning of whose name is Lord of the Universe, ruler of this world. In opposite to that, he is a rag picker. And finally, by the end of the story, we read that he had started working at a tea stall, and he was not quite happy with his job, right? So now in this story, in the second part of the story, I want to drive a car. So another character named Mukesh is introduced, and see what he desires. So, children, reading the first paragraph of this part, Mukesh insists on being his own master. I will be a motor mechanic, he announces. See, Bache Mukesh is also a rag picker. He also belongs to that kind of family. And here in the opening paragraph, he says that he wants to be a motor mechanic, right? He insists that he would open his own business. See, do you know anything about cars? I asked. The author asked Mukesh if he knows anything about cars. So, see what was his answer? I will learn to drive a car. Mukesh has a desire in his mind. His desire is to learn how to drive a car. Looking straight into my eyes, like he answered by looking into the author's eyes. His dream looms his dream looms like a mirage amidst the dust of streets that fill his town, Firozabad. Now, that was the talk of Simapuri. Now it's Firozabad. Why? For what Firozabad is famous? It's famous for its bangles. You know, Mukesh belongs to a family who lives in Firozabad, right? So they are also from that category of people who are very poor and who survives by involving all the members of the family either in collecting things from rags, or they used to the people of that place Firozabad used to involve themselves in a business that was very famous, that was carried by almost all the people of that place, that is of making bangles. What was Mukesh's dream? His dream was to become a motor mechanic. But see what the author says about his dream. The author says that his dream looms like a mirage. Looms means a kind of threatening statement. It threatens like a mirage. Mirage is illusion. ILLUSION. Illusion, a false thing, a feeling that can never turn into reality. So his dream looms large like a mirage. She says that his dream, the author feels that Mukesh's dream can never be realized. Why? Because he belonged to a family who lived in dust of streets, right? So his dream is also considered that amidst the dust of streets. It means that's not a clean area. That's not an area where children can dream of something, where they can dream of achieving something, right? So see, next line he says that every other family in Firozabad is engaged in making bangles. It's the center of India's glass blowing industry, where families have spent generations working around furnaces, welding glass, making bangles for all the women in the land. It seems, means if you visit the place Firozabad, you will feel that there is nothing at that place except bangles. One feels that the whole of bangles used by the people are manufactured at this place. Means it's such a hub. It's such a hub for making bangles, welding glass. Like glass is also welded in order to prepare bangles out of that, right? So People used to work around furnaces, welding of the glass, preparing bangles, like the entire families, their generations, even not even family, like family generation after generation, they were opting this business and they were quite engrossed in that. So in the next paragraph, the author would explain how deeply the families are engrossed in the process of bangle making, and like how bore it was, how monotonous it was. See, in the next paragraph, she says that Mukesh's family is among them. Mukesh also belonged to a family who was involved in the business of making bangles. None of them know that it's illegal for children like him to work in the glass furnaces with high temperatures and dingy cells. Dingy cells means shabby, that are not clean, right? Without air and light, that the law, if enforced, could get him and all those 20,000 children out of the hot furnaces where they slog their daylight hours. Slog means spend their daylight hours, often losing the brightness of their eyes. Brightness of their eyes directly means here the light of their eyes, their eyesight. You know, Mukesh used to work for making bangles. Mukesh, along with about 20,000 children. They used to work in those hot furnaces, and according to the Indian laws, according to the constitution, children below the age of 14 years should not be made to work in any kind of factories, at any tea stall, or at any place. And if the law, the author is saying, if the law is enforced, if the law is enforced honestly, children like Mukesh should not be working in those hot furnaces, and they should never lose their eyesight working in such a hot furnace, right? Mukesh's eyes beam as he volunteers to take me home. It means the author was given an opportunity, the author was given an invitation to visit a home. And who invited the author? Mukesh, right? Which he proudly says is being rebuilt. Mukesh is happy to announce that his home is being rebuilt. They are working again on that home. It means they are doing some repairs. So we walk down stinking lanes. Stinking means producing bad smells. Choked with garbage. Choking means blocked with garbage, full with garbage. Past homes that remain hovels with crumbling walls. Hovels means bache to shelter. Crumbling, small pieces, leftovers, you may say. So they walk down that place, and wobbly doors, no windows. Wobbly means the doors which are not properly fixed, which often move, right? Which are not repaired, without any windows, crowded with families of humans and animals coexisting in a primeval state. Very, very sad statement. Primeval, a kind of traditional state. There was only one room. There used to be one room in under that, like ceiling. So one room in which animals and humans coexist, like both the parties live together under that roof, animals as well as humans. See, just imagine, like means we do not even pass by getting near to the animals, and they coexist, they live in the same room. So this was noticed, this stark reality was noticed by the writer here. Next is, she says, he stops at the door of one such house, bangs a wobbly iron door with his foot. Children, banging means to knock, right? Banged. So he banged one of the doors and with his foot and pushes it open. So Mukesh opens one of the doors. We enter a half-built shack. Shack, hut. Roughly built hut, which is not properly built. Half-built shack. In one part of it, thatched with dead grass. Dead grass which is no longer green. Thatched means covered. The house Like it was, he, as the author describes, that thatched with dead grass. One part of the house was covered with the grass, that is waste. Is a firewood stove over which sits a large vessel of sizzling spinach leaves. Right? So they were probably sizzling, whistling with heat. Right? So they were probably preparing vegetable. So on the ground, in large aluminium platters, bache platters, big trays that are used for serving food or vegetable, right, are more chopped vegetables. So a frail young woman, frail means weak, a frail young woman is cooking the evening meal for the whole family. It means that was a big vessel they used to, there must be many people living together, and she was cooking food for all the people. So through eyes filled with smoke she smiles. A contrast, children, a big contrast is shown, where the author says that through the eyes filled with smoke means although she was not working in a neat and clean environment, they people can't even imagine to have chimneys, right? So there was no outlet for smoke, her eyes were filled with smoke, still she was smiling. It means still she was showing a feeling of happiness. She is the wife of Mukesh's elder brother, right? She is the wife of Mukesh's elder brother. See how she is dealing and what position she has in that society. So not much older in years, she has begun to command respect as the bahu, the daughter-in-law of the house, already in charge of three men: her husband Mukesh and their father. So that lady who was smiling while her eyes were filled with smoke, who is that lady? She is Mukesh's bhabhi, right? Mukesh's elder brother's missus. So in the song she is the daughter-in-law of the house, and she is taking of three people, three men: Mukesh, Mukesh's brother, and Mukesh's father, right? So when the older man enters, she gently withdraws behind the broken wall. Older man enters, right? So as you know, the custom, as the tradition now, it's not being followed at most of the places. So in the previous times, women used to hide their face in the presence of elder male member of the house, right? So the same must be mentioned here. When the older man enters, she gently withdraws behind the broken wall and brings her veil closer to her face. It means she covered her face with some dupatta or something. So as custom demands, daughter and daughters-in-law must veil their faces before male elders of the house. In this case, the elder is an impoverished bangle maker. Despite long years of hard labor, first as a tailor, then as a bangle maker, he has failed to renovate a house. Renovate, it means to rebuild, to do improvements. Like he has been working hard throughout his life. He worked as a tailor, he began to make bangles, but he couldn't afford to rebuild his house, send his children to school, right? All he has managed to do is teach them what he knows, the art of making bangles, like what he has taught his children how to make bangles. Next is, it is his karam, his destiny, says Mukesh's grandmother, who has watched her own husband go blind with the dust from polishing the glass of bangles. You know, like working with glass, dealing with glass is not as easy as it seems. So welding of glass, polishing it, like dealing with all the stages of wangle making is indeed a difficult task. And Mukesh's grandmother once told them that it was his destiny. It was his karam. You know, often the term karma is used. It was his destiny that Mukesh's grandfather lost his eyesight while making bangles. One of the glass pieces must have went into his eyes, right? So Can a God-given lineage be broken? See, the superstitious part of the story. Can a God-given lineage, lineage, a line of progeny, like a business which is started by an elder and that is followed in the same manner by like almost all the next generations, they people consider it God's will. They people consider that God wants them to make bangles and that's why they will be doing this task throughout. So his grandmother's statement was, can a God-given lineage ever be broken? She implies, born in a caste of bangle makers, they have seen nothing but bangles in the house, in the yard, in every other house, every other yard, every street in Firozabad. Spirals of bangles, springing spirals of bangles they have seen. They are of different colors. She mentions sunny gold, paddy green, royal blue, pink, purple, every color born out of the seven colors of the rainbow. Lie in mounds in unkempt yard are piled on four-wheeled hand carts, right? Mounds, heaps of sand, artificial hill, you may say, and unkempt yard means, that kind of rough. And he says here that in like which conditions they were living, they have seen bangles at every place, inside the house, in the courtyard of the house, at every place. They are piled on four-wheeled handcrafts pushed by young men along the narrow lanes of the shanty town. Narrow lanes of the shanty town. Shanty town, a suburb consisting of mean or rough constructions where no proper huts are there, no proper houses are there. People are living in extreme poverty, right? So he says that, and in dark hut means camp of huts where there are lots and lots of huts, right? So in dark hut next to lines of flames of flickering oil lamps sit boys and girls with their fathers and mothers welding pieces of colored glass into circles of bangles. you know all were involved in that dark flickering, unsteady flash of light, the light which is not being thrown properly. So they used to sit together, weld those pieces of glass, give them color and make bangles out of it. Children, the author says that their eyes are more adjusted to the dark than to the light outside. It means their eyes are not prone to that light, it's more prone to the dark. That's why they often end up losing their eyesight before they become adults. Like most of them lose their eyesight either due to the entry of some of the crush or piece of glass into their eyes, or because they apply too much eyesight in preparing bangles. So most of them lose their eyesight before they become adult, right? Next is the part of the story in which a new character is introduced, a girl whose name is Savita. See, Savita, a young girl in a drab pink dress. Drab means dull pink, light pink dress, sits alongside an elderly woman soldering pieces of glass. Soldering pieces of glass means like joining two metallic surfaces, right? So, joining two metallic surfaces. As her hands move mechanically like the tongues of a machine, moving mechanically like a tongues of a machine means a type of instrument, a scissor like instrument with which some of the things are cleaned. Her hands are compared to tongues of machine. It means like she used to work with her hands like a machine, like the tongues of a machine, right? So I wonder if she knows the sanctity of the bangles she helps make. It means, bangles have particular importance in, especially in Indian society, right? So what it symbolizes? It symbolizes an Indian woman suhag, auspiciousness in marriage. It will dawn on her suddenly one day when her head is draped with a draped hair means when her head is covered, right? Draped in a a red veil, her hands dyed red with henna, means mehendi, and red bangles rolled into her wrists. She will then become a bride. It means Savita is an unmarried girl and she used to make bangles of glass. The author says that Savita doesn't realize any importance of those bangles. When she would realize it, she would realize the importance of bangles when she will get married. Married, marriage is shown as, again, in a very superstitious manner. She has shown that when Savita's head would be covered with a red dupatta or red sari, her hands would be decorated with henna, that is mehendi, red bangles would be rolled on her wrists, on her arms, right? So she will become a bride, like the old woman beside her who became one many years ago. It means Savita, who is sitting beside an old woman was married off many years ago, and like she used to understand the importance of those bangles after getting married, and the same thing the author is thinking of Savita. She still has bangles on her wrist, but no light in her eyes. It means no light in her eyes means there was no spark in the eyes of Savita. There was no happiness on her face. See, a very very touching statement. She says, "एक वक्त शेर भर खाना भी नहीं खाया." You know, the people who have never eaten a complete meal in their lifetime. We know we people often get loads and loads of stuff from our mothers. Eat this, eat that, have this, have that, this, that, means lots and lots of stuff we people have been provided, like we people are provided with by our parents. See, Savita's statement is she has not eaten a full meal in her life. Like she has never got so much food with which she could feel content, with which she could feel कि yes, आज मैंने खाना खा लिया. Means, like she says in a voice drained of joy, she has not enjoyed even one full meal in her entire lifetime. That's what she has reaped. Her husband, an old woman with a flowing beard, says, "I know nothing except bangles. All I have done is make a house for the family to live in." And what was the husband's statement? The statement was like, the old man's statement was like that I couldn't afford any such thing. I only did one thing in my lifetime, and that was building of a house. Right? Next is, hearing him, one wonders if he has achieved that many have failed in their lifetime. He has a roof over his head. People, the man's statement was not a humble submission. Actually, that was a matter of proud for that man that he has built a house. Building a house, building a hut is considered a very big achievement for these people. Right? So, he is actually proud that he has built a house for his family. The cry of not having money to do anything except carry on the business of making bangles, not even enough to eat, rings in every home. Means starvation is the story of every home there. Right? So, the young men echo the lament of the elders. Little has moved with time. It means nothing much has changed with the passage of time. The young man, they lament the same things. They are into the same business. It seems in Firozabad. Years of mind-numbing toil have killed all initiative and the ability to dream. Years of mind-numbing. Mind-numbing toils means excessively boring, repetitive. Children, once I heard probably that the poem is written by Robert Frost. The poem was like apple picking. The business of a man was picking up apples, and like suppose he used to pick up apples, he used to collect apples from down the apple tree for 12 to 13 hours a day. And like he describes very sadly, he describes that in his dream also he is picking apples. It means like he has been doing the same task for like so many years that in his dreams also he is picking apples. He is not at rest even during his sleep. The same thing, children, means these people even dream of bangles. They dream that they are making bangles after bangles and nothing else. They don't have any dream of becoming an engineer. They don't have any dream of achieving anything in life. They cannot think of any other business actually. Right? So nothing has changed. Mind numbing toil means that hard labor which is very boring. The same thing repeated again and again, again and again in their life. Right? So he says, why not organize ourselves into a cooperative? So, why not organize ourselves into a cooperative? I ask a group of young men who have fallen into the vicious circle of middlemen who trapped their fathers and forefathers. Right? So, see what he says. Even if we get organized, we are the ones who will be hauled up by the police, caught up by the police, beaten and dragged to jail for doing something illegal. They say there is no leader among them, no one who would help them see things differently. Their fathers are as tired as they are. They walk endlessly in a spiral that moves from poverty to apathy, to greed, and to injustice. Apathy, lack of emotions. Like they are seriously caught in that disgrace. Like they too think that they should become a cooperative society and they may start with some new things of their own. Right? But see what they say, who trapped their fathers and forefathers even. Like everybody is trapped in that vicious circle of endless poverty and greed. And this actually has led them to live a life of injustice. Like they don't even know that they have that right because police often beats them without any reason. Police often beats them like for doing anything they want. So injustice is being done to those people and there is no leader among them. There was no one who could become their representative, who could speak up for their rights, right? So their fathers, forefathers, everybody is so weak, no one has the courage to come up and speak for themselves. So I see two distinct worlds. One of the family caught in a web of poverty, burdened by the stigma of caste in which they are born. Stigma of caste means there was a mark of caste. They were considered that they have born into such a caste and they will make bangles only. They will not go into any other business. A stigma of caste, a kind of disgrace, a kind of shameful thing that is imposed on them, right? So in which they are born. The other, a vicious circle of shahukars, the middleman, the policemen, the keepers of law, the bureaucrats and the politicians. Together they have imposed the baggage on the child that he cannot put down. Before he is aware, he accepts it as naturally as his father. These people often accept their present condition before they get to some senses. It means it's not that these people are nonsense. They do have sense, but their sense is killed before the actual awakening comes in their life. Their sense is killed by whom? Their shahukars, the moneylenders, the middleman, the policemen, even the keepers of law, the bureaucrats as well as the politicians, the people who make the law and the people who implement that particular laws. So these laws give freedom to one and all, but these people are not prone to these laws. they are not given the benefits of those laws. So next line is, together they have imposed the baggage on the child he cannot put down. Ki together these people make the child to carry on the same business because they are never given freedom, right? So before he is aware, he accepts it as naturally as his father. Ki their fathers have accepted that business of that carrying of that business of bangle making. They too do like that. Next is, to do anything else would mean to dare. Dare, to like have some courage. So they could not dare to do anything else. And daring is not a part of his growing up. When I sense a flash of it in Mukesh, I am cheered. The author is getting happy on listening Mukesh's dream that Mukesh wanted to be a motor mechanic. Mukesh was the first person the author met who expressed his dream of becoming something else, who expressed his desire to leave that business of bangle making, right? I want to be a motor mechanic, he repeats. He will go to a garage and learn. He will go to a garage, right, where cars are kept, and learn. But the garage is a long way from his home. I'll walk, he insists. He insists means he puts stress on the statement that he will go by foot. He is ready to walk throughout that distance where the garage is, but he really wants to be a motor mechanic. See what the author asks him. Do you also dream of flying a plane? He is suddenly silent. No, he says, staring at the ground. A big, harsh reality, children. It means Mukesh is having a dare. Mukesh is having courage to dream of becoming a motor mechanic, but he is still limiting his dreams. Obviously, if somebody is asked, do you need a car drive, or do you need or do you wish to go by plane, right? Do you need to cover a particular distance by plane? Obviously, almost 100% of the people would say that they wish to go by plane, right? See, what is Mukesh's answer? Like when he was asked that, do you dream of flying a plane or do you dream of driving a car? He says that, no, I don't want to fly a plane. Because he knows it very well. Inwardly, he knows it very well that becoming a motor mechanic is such a dream which can somehow be realized, which is in his reach. But dreaming of a plane is not in his reach. He cannot even dream of an aeroplane. So he says, staring at the ground, no. In his small murmur, there is an embarrassment that has not yet turned into regret. Embarrassment, a feeling of shame, right? But he is not regretting. He is not going to take his decision back, his decision of becoming a motor mechanic. He is content to dream of cars that he sees hurtling down. Hurtling down means moving very rapidly, hurtling down the streets of his town. Few aeroplanes fly over Firozabad. But if few, wherever the term few is used, it means actually none. A few means very less, few means zero. It means no airplanes flew over the city Firozabad, and they people have never got the knowledge that something like aeroplane is there in this world. So very beautiful description of extreme poverty. So I hope you have liked the lesson. Take care of yourself.